meeting. He tries to attend, I think, all of the meetings in Area 2 at least once a year. Jim is also the chairman of the Prince William Salt and Water Conservation District, so we're glad to have Jim here. Because of his business today, and he's going to be needing to dash in and out, I'd like to maybe ask Jim if he'd like to offer some comments up front. Jim?
Yes, I would like that, John.
Actually, I'm sorry, just before we get started, I wanted to just note that I did press the record button just a few moments after we had called the meeting to order. But I do want to let you know that the meeting is currently being recorded, and this will be eventually posted on the YouTube channel. So Jim, I apologize for the interruption, but I wanted to just make sure that everybody was aware.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, Jim. Welcome.
Yes. Well, I would like to get the consensus of the Northern Virginia board. We've got an issue that's been that I've been perplexed with for a little while now. It has to do with the association sending forward the nominations to the Soil and Water Board. Last year, we gathered a couple of actually, we had 3 candidates going into our December meeting. We pared it down to 2 at our area meeting last December. They were forwarded at that time to the association, so it was out of our hands. At the virtual spring association meeting, the 2 names came forward, and at the last moment, the names went forward with preference towards one candidate. I made a motion to remove the prejudice and not favor one candidate over the other. I could not get a second to my motion, so it died on the floor. I've been thinking about this ever since, and I think this is just so gravely wrong, but I'd like to get the consensus of all of our districts. And if the districts stand with me on this, I think I'd like to amend the bylaws of the association. If I don't have any support on this, I just need to go get my hair done or something, whatever. I'm just being too sensitive. But anyhow, my feeling is when the association puts the candidates forward with preference, it's being disrespectful to both candidates, actually all candidates, even the one that we eliminated in the beginning. And then furthermore, it opens the door for great ramifications. I don't know what the justification was for having preference on the candidates. If one was a good old boy more so than the other, I don't know. But if we set this as a standard for our behavior, what's to stop the association or this group from further down the road saying, well, gee, I think that candidate might be Jewish or gay or handicapped or whatever. Can you see how this would open it up for all sorts of discrimination? So I feel that if I say nothing, I will be allowing the process to go on. So I need to speak up, and I just like to see if I've got consensus from the Northern Virginia board.
Jim, before we ask our board that question, do you know whether or not the state association bylaws require them to nominate a preferred candidate, or doesn't it say?
I have not looked into that. The state bylaws say that the association will forward 2 candidates for selection by the governor. So this bias thing is not addressed.
Yeah, I haven't looked in the bylaws yet. There's another issue concerning that also that you and I know about, and that's what the governor did, but that's a different issue.
Well, the governor has the right to do that.
Yes.
And, I'm a big believer in karma. When things are not done properly, there's bad karma, and bad karma comes back and haunts you in the biggest sort of way, in a totally indirect path sometimes. So I'm just chalking this up to bad karma.
Well, I happen to be one of the directors that supports Jim and his recommendation to the state association. I'd like to kind of hear, we probably need to check on the state association bylaws too, but kind of like to hear from the other directors. I'll start with Vice Chairman Jerry, see if he's got an opinion. He's on mute. Can't hear you, Jerry.
Sorry. I heard the last part of that. It concerned that we would be showing some kind of protected group bias for or against, I think is a concern. If the bylaws just say send 2 names forward for the governor to pick, that seems to be the rule. So why not just send 2 plain? I would agree with Jim.
Director Bilger?
I think we are, I too would like to see the bylaws, but to me, with the country moving in an equitable direction and ensuring that our language is appropriate and just, we certainly should be, as an association, thoughtful and careful when putting forward names and ensuring that we're disregarding bias in any form.
Director Bordas?
There's no question in my mind, equity first, so I agree.
Director Corner?
Hi, Jim. I was wondering how were the nominations put forward in a way that biased the candidates? Were they just not given as names as competent and appropriate, or
the names went forward with preference towards one candidate. So it was written on there in the directions to the governor, attached are our 2 candidates. We prefer this one over the other.
Oh, okay.
And the state association did that, correct?
The association did that.
The association.
Yes, not area 2. It was the association.
I think that's inappropriate. If you're putting 2 candidates forward, they should be both qualified and both appropriate for selection without any prejudice.
And Jim, one of the things we probably should do is if the state association bylaws require them to submit a preference, we probably need to get that changed. If the areas nominate 2 people and that's the requirement.
Well, I've seen areas or I've seen candidates go forward to the Soil and Water Board, and there was not preference on them in the past. Yeah,
I think I do too. Thank you, Jim. I think you have our board's concurrence. Do you have some other things you'd like to offer us today?
That's it. Just hang in there with this COVID thing and hope for the best. Prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
Well, thanks for being with us. Hope you can stick with us a little longer.
Thank you. I'll stick with you as long as I can.
All right. I think we're at the point we could deal with the minutes, Monica.
Yes. So I have reviewed the minutes as prepared, and I make a motion to approve them.
We have a motion to approve the minutes as presented. Is there a second? Did I hear a second?
I'll second.
Then moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. I think I can do it all at once. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed say nay. The minutes are approved. We are down, I think, to the treasurer's report. Director Corner?
We did not have a meeting in August, so we're looking at the July and August treasurer's report, and I've reviewed them both and submit them for filing and audit. And I'll make a motion for that.
We have a motion. Well, we just can't accept the treasurer's report and file it for audit, so we'll do that. Now we're down to the finance committee then, Chris, if you want to talk a little bit about the meeting yesterday.
Well, the finance committee has met a couple times since the last board meeting, and we've discussed a wide variety of items, one of which is the potential for joining the Virginia retirement system. And we're still in the process of getting information from actuaries on the state side, so we get information on that. We also took a more comprehensive look at the Chestnut Fund, which are the unrestricted reserves funds that we keep moving every fiscal year into that fund. And Laura looked historically at the magnitude and the reasons that we've swept funds into that account. And she wrote a pretty good memo that looks at, straightening out things in 2013 and 14 and getting a good look at the unreserved portion of that, and then setting up dedicated reserves like the computers and the vehicles that more closely have a purpose. And then yesterday we discussed the amount and the still expected funds that we're getting from the county and the state to come into fiscal year 20, but we won't get it until fiscal year 2021, obviously, because we're there now, and hopefully we're going to get one of those checks by the end of the month. And we looked at replenishing and some of the swept funds into dedicated reserves for fiscal year 2021, and we'll need action from the board to do that. The recommendations were, one, for the computer replacement funds, because Heather and Laura right now are working on upgrading the computers and buying some new ones for staff. And we have used a portion of the computer fund for the work at home stuff during the COVID. So the Finance Committee recommends putting $2,500 of money from the Chestnut Fund into the computer replacement fund to make up for the monies that were given to staff to account for working at home. John, do you think it's better to vote one at a time on these, or
I think
at once?
Let's do it one at a time.
Okay, so I will first make a motion and deal with that one of moving $2,500 from the Chestnut Fund into the dedicated fund for computer replacement.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? We move I think $4,000 and some into the computer replacement fund. Is there any further discussion?
Just have one quick question.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, that $2,500 that was utilized, do we foresee that being another expenditure in the coming year, fiscal year 2020, since working from home seems to be carrying over into that following year? And will we have the ability to come additional funds from Chestnut Fund?
Good question.
If you'd like, I can address that question. So Monica, it's a good question. Right now, our offices are open and available to staff to come in on a regular basis or on an as needed basis. And so the telework stipend was put in place as an emergency because we shut down our offices so incredibly quickly. And until our office space was available to open up again, everybody was required to be teleworking and staying at home, which required a dependency upon their own personal computers and materials and things like that, which was the reason why a telework stipend was justified. So at this point, we actually, with moving forward and purchasing the computers and everything else, we are really working to ensure that our team has the mobile capabilities and that ability to telework if they so choose, but the office is here available and open should we need to. So if our office closes suddenly again, and there is the absolute requirement that folks need to be working from home, that is something that I would like to consider bringing back to the board and the potential reestablishment of the stipend if necessary.
But not needed now.
Correct.
Does that answer your question, Monica?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, I'll try to call the roll. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Directors Peters?
Aye.
Corner?
Aye.
Bilger?
Aye.
Bordas?
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Chris. Next.
Next one is the Staff Appreciation and Awards Fund had dropped down significantly. And it's nice, mainly because of Willie's 30th anniversary and Assad's retirement. So we thought it appropriate to replenish that dedicated reserve fund up to the tune of $1,000. So I'll make a motion to add $1,000 onto the dedicated reserve fund for staff appreciation and award.
Chris, that comes out of the Chestnut Fund?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Just to add to Jerry's comment, we added $15,000 to the swept from the fiscal year 2020 into the Chestnut Fund at our last meeting. And as we get more checks, there are 3 outstanding checks coming in. We're looking at probably sweeping another 60,000 or so. Is that correct, Laura? It's close. It's a significant amount of money will be swept from fiscal year 2020 into the Chestnut Fund. So we're looking at not building up a huge amount on the unrestricted reserves of the Chestnut Fund, but distributing them among the dedicated reserves that in some areas we've used up over the past year. So there's a pretty good amount to sweep over there.
Right, right. So every year, with whatever income we earn through different programs and projects, as well as interest and other revenue generated through the seedling sale and other things like that, we do bring those reserves down into, or we bring income down into our reserves, and it gives us an opportunity to kind of replenish a lot of our different dedicated reserve line items and funds. Our Chestnut Fund is our unrestricted reserve. We do have the cash management policy in place, which relates to our reserve program. And by virtue of that, we maintain 3 to 6 months worth of general operating funds in that unrestricted reserve. And those are held there for emergency situations. Oftentimes, as Chris was just saying, we're still waiting on our contribution from Fairfax County for FY21. So we have to kind of be able to carry ourselves and have some continuity of operations, sometimes within that first 6 months of the fiscal year. So we are working to try to make sure that our funders are aware of this and that we are pursuing getting those funds. Sometimes it just takes a couple of extra reminders. But when we are looking at these funds, once it gets to a certain point, we want to make sure that we are encouraging those funds to be placed in certain pots of money and dedicated reserves. We're saving up for certain things like a new vehicle or computer upgrades or other equipment upgrades. And as we go through our strategic planning process, we may identify new dedicated sources of funds that dedicated reserves that we may want to establish and build up until we reach a critical point where we can then spend it down. So that's how we have been able to move forward with the computers, which Chris is going to talk about here in a moment, as well as our truck replacement. We add some funds to that every year. And then when we have some additional funds, we can actually add a slug of funds to those particular pots as well. So it is consistent with our audit recommendations that came out even before my time with the district. And it is also consistent with the DCR procedures document as well for fiscal operations. So yeah. So that's all I've got to say. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions.
I don't hear any. Have we got a motion?
I had made one for staff appreciation. We haven't voted on that one yet, have we?
Has it been seconded?
I second it.
It's been seconded. Okay. Are we ready to vote? I'll call the roll. Director Peters?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye. If you oppose it, say nay. Director Peters says aye. Director Bilger?
Aye.
Director Bordas?
Aye.
Director Corner?
Aye.
It's unanimous. It passes. Next one, Chris.
I think this one's the most important one, and it involves staff bonuses. Obviously, this has been a pretty difficult year for more than one reason. We had Assad's retirement last year. We have not replaced the UCS2 position, and lately we've had Christina retiring for school. The work hasn't decreased, and the remaining staff have taken up that slack and done yeoman's work, particularly with the difficulty of trying to make schedules with the different community folks to do the work out in the field. The district has and will, as I mentioned, sweep a fairly significant amount of funding from the fiscal year accounts into the Chestnut Fund. And I think it's appropriate that the staff folks that have made up and continue to do the great work that the district did and continues to do, that they reap some of the rewards of the financial position that we've been in. So we discussed yesterday, and as a group with the Finance Committee, recommend adding $15,000 to the staff bonus pool to be distributed later this fall. And I very strongly think that's an appropriate and well-deserved use of the funding.
Are you making that motion?
Yes, I am. That's a motion to sweep $15,000 into the staff bonus account.
Right. Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we sweep $15,000 into the staff bonus account for distribution probably closer to the holidays toward the end of the year. Is there any further discussion?
Chris, I have a question. Does this large amount of money come because of unfilled positions and their salary not being paid at the time?
My look, and we were talking about it yesterday, is probably about $60,000 of the excess funds from last year were not having to pay salary for the one position that was open. And so we'll still sweep a significant amount of that into the unreserved funds, and the Chestnut Fund continues to grow. We talked a fair amount yesterday about, and I particularly am fiscally conservative, and to keep money in reserves, particularly if we have a lean time coming up. But we put so much money in last year as the percentage of what we've done in previous years that I believe it's appropriate to distribute some of that to recognize the good work that the staff has done over the past year or so.
Agreed.
If you don't mind me just chiming in here real quick. So we had roughly about $20,000 that was coming in from different programs and other sources of revenue. So the funds that were set aside for staff, we have a line item on you'll see it on the managed funds spreadsheet. That is the district's share of personnel and operations. So the funds that Chris is referring to, and this roughly $18,000 that is being recommended be distributed to these various dedicated reserves from the unrestricted reserves pod, is not associated with any technical assistance funds or things like that would have gone toward the urban conservation specialist position.
Any further discussion? I'll call the roll again. All in favor of putting the $15,000 into the bonus pool, signify by saying aye. If you're opposed, say nay. Director Peters.
Aye.
Director Bilger.
Aye.
Director Bordas.
Aye.
Director Corner.
Aye.
It is again unanimous, so it carries. Thank you very much. Is there anything else, Chris, from the Finance Committee?
We have one more thing that Laura and Heather worked to get quotes from Fairfax County IT group for the amount of $10,968.69 for computer upgrades for staff, because previously all the computers have been hand-me-downs from the county, except for a couple new ones that they've been trying out. And this year, Laura and Heather worked with the county staff and using their discounts to upgrade the rest of the computers. And this is funding that has already been in the computer replacement fund and planned with a certain amount of money over a 5-year replacement time to do this work. So it's not new money, it's money that we've saved over time to accomplish this. So I would make a motion that we authorize Laura to move forward with the purchase of these computers and using the quote received from the Fairfax County DIT for the amount of $10,968.69.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Knowing some of the things that my staff has been through computer-wise during just COVID and computers that have died on us, an outright black screen, press F5 for troubleshooting. That's the only message on the screen or some things that we've gotten. I'm glad we're doing this. This is really important, and it's good for our staff to feel supported by the equipment and by a little bit of financial incentive. Thank you so much for all of your hard work. I really appreciate it.
Sounds like your computer's got the virus, Adria. Hearing no further discussion, I'll again call the roll. If you're in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. If you're opposed, please say nay. Director Peters.
Aye.
Director Bilger. I think she said aye. Director Bordas.
Aye.
Director Corner.
Aye.
Again, it passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Is there anything else, Chris?
I'd like to say thank you for the board for approving all those. And Laura, do you want to add a couple words about the choices of the computers that you made, the laptops and the laptop tablet combination?
Sure. So this has actually been a long time coming. We established this computer replacement program that those of you who have been on the board for a little while may be aware that we did look into whether or not we wanted to join Fairfax County's computer replacement program and found that it just was not cost efficient for us to do that. And so we have established our computer replacement program funded outside of Fairfax County. But we've worked with, we've met around this table as staff and discussed the kinds of needs and the kinds of options that were available through Fairfax County, including the traditional laptop approach and having those 2-in-1 kind of laptop tablets, especially for those who are going to be in the field and where we're looking for ways of being able to improve some of that efficiency in terms of documentation and whatnot in the field. We're also working behind the scenes with Fairfax County's GIS and Department of Information Technology to get a lot of our traditional paper forms digitized and into a GIS format so that we can do additional analyses as well and incorporate that into more planning. So those are some of the exciting things that are taking place. As a small team, we have to lean pretty heavily on each other to try and get things accomplished. And we all have a wide variety of comfort levels with technology as well. And so there's going to be some of that training that's also going to take place. But I'm very excited. Those tablets, those 2-in-1s, which are kind of like a laptop and tablet options where you can utilize a stylus. Those also have some great capabilities so that there are team members who are utilizing some heavy duty software like Bluebeam or GIS types of operations will be able to utilize those capabilities as well. Having the laptops also supports us, again, with our continuity of operations. Heather, for example, with having a laptop, will be able to put the QuickBooks on that laptop and be able to access it fairly easily without having to make a lot of transfers of our QuickBook company and things like that. So it's very exciting. I really appreciate, I'll say for myself, but I think I could share this sentiment on behalf of staff, the ability to be more mobile and to improve our efficiencies and things like that on a daily basis are things that I think we are all kind of committed to. And we really appreciate the board's support and being able to move forward with making those enhancements.
Laura, I have a question. When do you anticipate that you might be able to have those on hand?
Well, the biggest challenge, honestly, for us is making sure that we can get order them in such a way that we're not, that we can, with our credit card, make it work. I'm hoping that we can get those up and running, at least get those orders in, possibly in early October at the latest. Actually, our quote is good through a period of time. So we want to try to get that. It may even be the end of the month, Heather. I can't quite recall what that deadline is, but we want to get those orders in very, very soon and get everybody operational as soon as possible. So we'll work with DIT in terms of how long that takes. The ordering sometimes takes, it's unfortunate, it's not as quick as just going to the store and going and buying a couple of laptops. It takes a little bit of time for them to come in because we are ordering them through Fairfax County system. So I am hopeful that we'll be up and operational with our new systems by the end of October, but it may take a little bit of time, again, just depending upon what Fairfax County is able to do for us.
Now that answers my question. Anything else from anybody?
Question with regards to security. Are we under like for security purposes? And I know cyber attacks are really big. I wasn't sure we're working in Fairfax County with security systems or how we're implementing that. We
are. We have. Oh, sorry, Monica. I was. We work very closely with Fairfax County's security. And their Department of Information Technology. That's a full agreement that we have with them. So all of our systems, again, because we are integrated with their information technology through our shares drive, our email, and everything else, we do need to hold ourselves to the same level of accountability as any other Fairfax County employee. And so I serve as the security coordinator for our organization and get the reports from Fairfax County when there are any updates or anything like that. But most of those patches that go through our DIT does that for us, which again, we're just really, really appreciative for that partnership and that arrangement.
Thank you.
Any other questions of either Chris or Laura?
I'd just like to end by saying thank you to all the staff for this tough year and all the work that you've done.
Thank you. Anything else, Chris, on the part of the Finance Committee?
Nope, that concludes the work that we've done for now.
I think we're down, Adria, to the Technical Review Committee summary and recommendations.
Okay, hopefully my internet connection is better. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm going to keep my video off because I think that I keep on getting a message here saying that I am unstable. So that might be true some days, right? So we are going to review the Technical Review Committee. We met on August 18th and September 15th. Both were virtual meetings. And we are, we're going to go over some of the things, because we did not have an August board meeting. We're going to go over some of the things from the August, meeting as well as our September meeting. Willie, you, do you want to take it away, Willie, with a few items that you, talked about to review? And then I know you have some things to talk about since we reviewed some things in September and you didn't join us.
Yes. Maybe in the format you just presented. I'm sitting back here in the conference room. You're not seeing it very well, but I'm back there somewhere. At the last TRC meeting held in August, there were 4 plans that were presented that were discussed. Is that what you want me to do, Adrian?
Yes.
Okay, so those 4 plans that were discussed at that TRC meeting were those for the good news community kitchen garden. It's a proposal for community garden to be established. the Poplar Ford Park Meadow expansion, which is being done by the Fairfax County Park Authority, the Tyler Mall Hall stable, which is in the Clifton area of Fairfax County, and the Maze Property 4 LLC, which is incorporating into their grazing land about an acre of garden or vegetable garden with intention to expand within the next year or so. Those were the 4 plans that were presented that were discussed at the previous TRC meeting and hopefully will be approved by the board at this meeting. If I can continue to the last TRC meeting. At that TRC meeting was a plan discussed for the Jeanette Townsend stable operation. I wasn't able to attend that one because of other commitments that I have, official commitments, by the way. And some very pertinent points were raised in large buildings based on them. And I have done the best I can to incorporate those into the plan because, yes, there are pretty good points raised. For instance, one of them was to talk about the possibility of the potential for pollutants getting into the storm drain easement because of the location of the composting facility that I proposed. And apparently there was discussion as to possibility of other location that would pose less potential in terms of water pollution. I did look at all the other areas and I found that was the most ideal place for us to have it. The key reason being that once you set your composting facility too far away from the sacrifice area and the stable, the barn itself, there's a potential for the operators or the managers to want to establish a tertiary, a holding area. So that maybe once a week they will cut that whole bunch over to their primary composting facility. In doing so, that generates a lot of potential for pollution. However, I just want to highlight that the easement itself, the storm drain easement itself, is not recognized by us agricultural land users as an environmentally sensitive feature as such. It's not an RPA, it's an area through which stormwater will come through, number one. And then number two, based on the design of the composting facility itself, it's a 3-sided structure with an impervious base and the top that covers the structure whenever it's going to rain, as a matter of fact, regularly covered. So to a certain extent, the potential for pollution is going to be reduced, especially if they build a multi-cell composting facility as we promote, not just piling it in the corner there. So that's part of the reason why that is located in that direction. By the way, we're planning for just 2 horses, and so the dimension of that facility would be about 10 to 12 feet maximum in length, about 5 feet deep, about 6 feet deep and about 5 feet high. So we won't be using as much space as as is shown in the plan. The shortcoming of that is because when I do these plans on GIS, it's hard to be very precise because you really can't get to the nearest feet or so. I just put an area to identify the location for the facility. Another very good point that was raised is that the structures that encroach into the storm drain easement may be removed. So yes, on page 2 of the revised plan based on the TRC feedback, I have specifically mentioned that because of the storm drain easement, any facility that is built or erected within the easement is liable to be removed without the property owner's consent and may not even be replaced. So they know that. These are all things we have said to them verbally, but it's good to have it in the plan itself, just as someone at the last TRC meeting recommended. Another thing that came through was the maintaining the easement. I did mention that I did show that we'll be having the easement fenced off to keep horses from getting in there. But again, I see it's pertinent for me to just recommend that they do some planting. So I gave them recommendation of native year-resistant riparian zone type shrubs that can be installed would have good fibrous root system that would help to minimize erosion as and when we have a storm event, and would also help to absorb some of the nutrients that may run off from the pasture fields. The last but not the least is talking about the pasture they're going to be established. Again, I went in there and gave them some more details, i.e., the best time to plant your pasture, which is about to seed for pasture, which is about now. The latest they can apply fertilizer if the vegetation grows, which is 6 weeks after the last frost, after the first frost date in the fall. And that once they have those areas seeded, the grasses begin to grow. They really should not do routine grazing until the fall of next year, which puts them about a year away, to give the grass enough time for root systems to mature, so that when they're exposed to the pressure of horse grazing, they wouldn't just be, the grass wouldn't just be uprooted together with the roots. So all 4 points, as I recall, or as I was informed, have been addressed, unless there are other points that somebody would like me to further expound on.
Thank you, Willie. Are there any questions, board?
This is Jerry. My question is, when are we going to get Willie mic'd so we can understand him? Willie, I'm sorry I couldn't hear half of that. Your voice is so low and it was so boomy. I'm going to abstain from the vote because I couldn't hear.
Were you part of the TRC meeting, Jerry?
Yes.
I think at that meeting we did recommend that we approve the soil and water conservation plans. Is that right, Adria?
We did recommend that we would approve these soil and water conservation plans, and I am about to make a motion that we approve all 5 as presented. What we agreed to was if there was some questions that we had because Willie wasn't present about the Townsend equine operation, that Willie would follow up, and as long as we were able to justify and verify that some of these practices are either further down in the plan in the IPM section of the plan, or that there was reason for positioning the compost area in that sacrifice area, which is in the concern was that it was within an area that was sensitive to the water quality. And the reason being is that it's a 3-sided impervious surface composted area that will be covered. Did you hear that, Jerry? Now I'm hearing nothing.
I do agree with Jerry. Willie is very hard to hear.
Right. So are you comfortable with, as long as we were able to rectify those questions that we had, Jerry? Now I think Jerry's muted.
He must be on mute.
Okay.
I can't hear Jerry. I can see him. He is talking, but Hello.
Yeah, there's a serious delay.
Yeah, there is. Although I think Jerry did say he wanted to abstain.
Okay, so
we have a motion to approve these 5 plans.
I'll make a motion.
Plans, as I understand it. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the 5 soil and water conservation plans as presented. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll try to go around and call the roll. I'll try to start with Jerry, see if we can hear him. I think Jerry did say he wanted to abstain.
Jerry's muted.
I still can't hear. He's muted now.
He's muted. I don't know. He has to either unmute himself, or I don't know how he's muted.
He's muted. We'll come back. Director Corner, say aye if you're the approval of the 5 plans. Please say nay if you disapprove. Director Corner?
He's muted as well.
Director Bilger,
Aye.
Director Bordas,
Aye.
Director Corner,
Aye.
Director Peters.
Jim?
A little bit. You just came in.
I thank Adria for her explanation, and I will vote aye.
We have 4 ayes. The motion is carried. Thank you, Adria. Should we go on
Thank you.
to the CAP program?
Yes. Let me pull that back up. We got the Conservation Assistance Program. These are watershed applications that were presented in August and September. I'm going to make a motion to approve the CAP watershed applications for Emmanuel Lutheran Church, Concord Village HOA, Courthouse Square HOA, and Boston Ridge Cluster.
We have a motion to approve those 5 plans. Is there a second?
I would second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I think you all have a copy of the TRC report. Hearing no further discussion, I'll again call the roll. If you favor approving these CAP plans, please signify by saying aye. If you do not, please say nay. Director Peters.
Aye.
Corner.
Aye.
Bilger.
Aye.
Bordas.
Aye.
The ayes have it. They're approved. You want to go on to the reimbursements?
Yes. Now we're going to talk about reimbursements. We're going to make a motion to approve the reimbursement of two applications that were for conservation landscaping and rain garden at Lakeport Cluster and Reston.
We have a motion to approve the reimbursement of the conservation landscaping and rain garden at Lakeport Cluster. Is there a second?
Second, Chris.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Okay.
You all should have a copy of the TRC report. Hearing no further discussion, I'll again call the roll. If you're in favor of the approval, please signify by saying aye. If you're opposed, say nay. Director Peters?
Aye.
Bilger?
Aye.
Bordas?
Aye.
Turner?
Aye.
Again, the ayes have it. Thank you. Is there some VCAP discussion?
Yeah, I have just one more. This is from project year 2020, a reimbursement. We're going to do this application for a reimbursement motion separately because this was when the size of the conservation landscaping size was reduced from the original plan due to limited funding. It didn't affect the contribution of VCAP funds, nor would it have changed their overall score in a way that would have made the project ineligible. But Dan noted that the property owners intended to implement the rest of the original project design on their own. Okay, so they would take responsibility for the cost on their own, and these are for VCAP projects numbers 21-2020-030 and 21-2020-026, and that is a motion to improve the reimbursement of those 2 projects, and that the homeowners are going to do the rest of the projects on their own at their own cost.
We have a motion to approve the 2 VCAP projects. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been by Chris, if I could hear the voice properly. Is that correct, Chris? Is there any further discussion? VCAP discussion? Hearing none, I'll again call the roll. If you're in favor, signify by saying aye. If you're opposed, please say nay. Director Bilger?
Aye.
Director Kerner?
Aye.
Director Peters?
Aye.
Director Bordas?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Okay. And then the other, just for information, Mrs. Graves shared the information received regarding our application period, which ended on August 19th, and she reviewed some of the work that the technical team has done, and I really appreciate the hard work of the folks who work with the TRC. Dan and Maria and Willie and Laura, you guys do a fantastic job, the whole team. And site visits will begin scheduling in September and will continue throughout mid-December. So that's where we are with our VCAP program year 2021. And Laura shared a lot of information about the geographic sites throughout the county where we have applications to do projects in this program year. So thank you very much.
Anything else, Adria, from the TRC?
That is it, Chairman Peterson.
We thank you very much, and I think it's probably entirely appropriate that the next thing on the agenda is the reappointment of our Virginia Cooperative Extension Director to our board. I'll express my bias. I think our board has been so tremendously fortunate in having Adria part of our board of directors that I hope, and I think she's agreed that she would continue. Laura, do we need to make a motion to approve her reappointment, her recommendation for reappointment?
Yes, we do.
So the chair would entertain a motion that we.
I will make the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we reapprove the nomination, that we nominate for reappointment our Cooperative Extension Director, Adria Boydis, to our board of directors. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Thank you. It carries unanimously. Adria, we're so fortunate to have you. I'm biased, but thank you again for agreeing to serve, and we look forward to having you with us for a long time.
Well, thank you, John. It's my pleasure to serve.
I think we're down. If Debbie has made it on, I don't know if she has. Has she?
Yes, I'm here.
Ah, good. Debbie, you want to review some DCR annual assessments?
Sure. It's certainly with pleasure.
I
I sent these out a little while ago. Oh, no. And I'm an alias today. I'm KCM 68852. I can't put my name in here because that's the state computer and all the security stuff. So that's me. A couple of things. I sent out the assessments to you, and upon quick glance, you'll see that your district fully satisfied all of the deliverables that you were able to meet. We can start with the administrative and operation grant agreement. That's the one that kind of talks about general program administration. The other talks specifically to our cost share and technical assistance grant. Even if the district didn't approve any practices this year, your staff is continually working and looking for applicants that will meet our the program eligibility criteria. Your technical review committee meets monthly to review the conservation plans, the ag and forestal district, and a myriad of other technical activities. These get rolled up and sent to the Soil and Water Board. So I try to put comments in here that will help members of the board understand, well, why you I think everybody understands that Fairfax is, such an urbanized area that you can't do the traditional work. But what they don't know is all the other things that you do beyond the traditional work. So I try to put comments in there that will help folks understand that. Of course, your partnerships on number 3, there's never enough room to talk about all the partnerships that Northern Virginia Soil and Water Conservation District has. So you I kind of have to pick and choose and type small there. But I think you guys do a great job of fostering partnerships with not only local government, state and federal government, but nonprofits and other organizations, as well as the cities around you. Number 4 deals with the meeting schedules. The Soil and Water Board revised some of these deliverables after COVID hit. That they did revise is what the deliverable would be for having meetings. And they only wanted us to evaluate from July the 1st to February the 1st. During that time, you did conduct 5 meetings, and over the year, you conducted 9. In a normal year, we would expect districts to hold at least 10 board meetings to be fully satisfying this requirement. I think the number was 5 for the period of time July the 1st through February the 1st. And where we get a little off in this particular time is we don't meet in December and August. So you were kind of, I mean, and we didn't know COVID was coming to March. So you met the deliverable just fine. And what's really important is that we have a quorum present.
Hey, Debbie, you've really faded. This is Laura. You're really fading, and we're having a very difficult time hearing you. I don't know if you may need to get your microphone a little bit closer, but you were coming in really, really well, and then it just started to kind of fade out.
Better now?
A little bit. I'll turn up our volume too, so we can hear you.
Now we're getting nothing.
Yeah.
But now?
Very faint.
No?
Very faint.
Don't know what else to do. I'll talk loud.
Yeah. Debbie, I don't know if, I know that it's intended for you to present these reports to us. Is there, if you want to put anything in the chat, I can read it out for you. Otherwise, is there maybe we can just ask the question to the board if they have any questions regarding your report. And we may be able to, okay, and we might be able to follow up just in writing and an email. I hate to ask you to do more work than is necessary. Yeah, I have to admit, I've seen a couple of chat messages come through regarding the connection. There definitely is something going on with the connection this morning. Even ours has had to restart a little bit. We're still recording. And Maria has put in the chat the phone number if anybody would like to call in. Are there any?
How about now? Can you hear me any better?
Yes, much better. Much
Okay,
better.
I switched earphones. Okay, so the other ones go in the trash, and I have different earphones then. So, but what Laura said is, you have these. Just if you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain questions about the assessments. Y'all have done a good job in a very, very unusual and complicated year.
Do any board members or anybody else have any questions they'd like to ask Debbie at this time? I don't hear any, Debbie, and you'll be on again a little bit later, I hope.
Yes, sir.
But thank you for your assessment. I think we're down. I don't know. I can't tell who's on here. Is Harry Basco on? Is he going to talk about the green breakfast, or do we have somebody else?
He is not on today, John. I've been keeping an eye out, hoping his name might pop up, but I'll be glad to share a little bit about the green breakfast.
Please do.
We actually did not have a green breakfast in September, but we are looking to reschedule it and have one kind of in our in-between time in October, on October 10th. And I'm working with Ashley. She's been, as you all know, and hopefully have seen from her monthly reports, she's been working with a handful of students in Fairfax County on some independent research projects over the summer. And she's also been a mentor for a number of our young conservation leaders that have been participating in doing some projects over the course of the last, well, really, I guess since January, and I may ask her to give a little bit of more insights when we get down to staff reports on that. We wanted to give the opportunity to the students to come and share their projects. And so that is what we're going to be doing on October 10th is giving them that opportunity to share and highlight some of their projects. many years ago, we did a Young Conservation Leaders program, and it was really, really well received. It is inspirational to hear the students express what makes them tick and why they get involved in a lot of these different kinds of initiatives. So we look forward to sharing that. In November, we will have Mike Bishop come and share a little bit about the Northern Virginia Purple Martin initiative as well. So that's another fun and informative effort that is going on here in Northern Virginia. So that is it. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Laura on the green breakfast? If not, Jerry, how about the tree commission?
Tree Commission has been holding our regular meetings. We, of note to me, Jim McClone and I put together an annual report. It's like 6 months late, but to the Board of Supervisors on their Green Initiative number 5, which is to look for ways, no cost and low cost ways to plant more trees. My report was based upon a survey that the Urban Forest Management Division performed last fall, plus a tree charrette that we held just before the coronavirus hit back in March. And Jim was very helpful on this. He had a lot of the good recommendations are his. We discussed it at our meeting last Thursday at the Tree Commission. And although it was generally favorable, there are still some remaining issues, but we expect to see that go forward pretty soon. That's the main thing that we've been working on. We are continuing to have meetings. They are remote, of course, and generally it works pretty well. So that's it.
Thank you, Jerry. Is Assad on at all? Do we have anything on the Engineering Standards Review Committee?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I am here.
Good morning, Assad.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Mr. Chairman, during month of September, there was no ESRC meeting. There was one in August. I prepared a report and sent it to Laura and Heather. They were kind enough, despite the fact that there was no board meeting in August, and I forgot it so quickly. They sent a copy to you, and thank you for that. During the August meeting, I'll give you a brief summary of what happened. The old business included approval of amendment to Chapter 12. Chapter 12, as I've mentioned in previous meeting, is very important for the district also because it covers new guidelines and addition to section on restoration of disturbed RPA. Those amendments have been approved. The copy that included in your board report covers those amendments. So that was the old business. The new business, which they considered, there was one addition to a zoning ordinance as it is related to minor site plans. Minor site plans previously they were not required to be signed by a PE, but the new addition includes requirements of a PE's signature. I'm sorry, around me is a little, I'm in the office is a little bit crowded. The new requirement include if a minor site plans covers some additional engineering work and landscaping works. This minor site plan will be required to be signed by a PE or a certified landscape architect or a certified land surveyor. So that's the main difference. And also a copy of that is also in your report. The other amendments are related to Chapter 6. Chapter 6 is an important chapter for the district activities because it covers the stormwater management. There are 3 plates that they have been improved and 1 plate that has been removed. That might be of interest to Willie. And then there is a plate on covered risers that in wet and dry ponds that are not included anymore. There are some modification of gabions when they are put in man-made channels. That's mostly related to material use as for gabions. Those are all which were covered by August ESRC meeting.
Anything else aside?
Beg your pardon?
Is there anything else?
No, that's all that was covered by August meetings.
Do any of you on the conference have any questions of Assad? Assad, thank you for a very complete report. We appreciate that.
Sure. Thank you, sir.
I don't know, I can't tell. Is George Lamb on? He was going to talk about the Community Energy and Climate Action Plan. Laura, is George on?
George is not on today.
Is somebody going to cover that for him?
John, this is John Gannon. I'm not meaning to take over George's place, but I'm on the Waterloo District Community Group. And I think George sent out, the task force met in July, and I think he sent out a report about a month ago to which I had emailed back a reply of my concerns. I don't think the task force has met since then. They are scheduled to meet next Wednesday. And I know my particularly district community focus group that's a part of the CCAP is meeting next week, Monday or Tuesday. So, but I think George did send out a pretty comprehensive report for the July meeting, and I think that was in August sometime.
I think that's right.
And I had sent back my concerns. So, I mean, I'm not here to take his report over. I just wanted to.
Right.
The next task force meeting is next week.
We appreciate that, Jonna, and you are sounding pretty strong, so we got your voice back. Laura, do you have anything else from George?
I don't have any updates on that, but as Jonna mentioned, George did provide a report back in August, which was emailed to everyone. So that's the most current update that I have at this point. I'm sure George will inform us if there's anything else that comes up here over the next month.
Okay, we're down to other items for directors, associates, and consultants. I'll kind of go around in the order I see people. Start with Monica. Monica's on mute. She's still on mute.
Is this better? Can you hear me now?
Now we can.
I had to switch computers. I dropped off there for a second. I just have two things. The first, I would just like to let everyone know that I am in the process of reaching out to all the supervisors and creating appointments so that I can introduce myself as a new board of directors on the soil and water. I have informed Laura and John that should I get an appointment in the near future with the Chairman McKay, that I've invited them to all of the meetings. If for the Drainsville and Sully district, I'm happy to make sure that I let you know when I get a meeting so Jerry and Chris can join me if they choose. I'll let you know as soon as I get those meetings set up. Right now, I only have two with my own district supervisor and with Chairman McKay is currently in the works. So I just wanted to let you all know that I'm doing that. And then on another note, I just really wanted to take a moment to reiterate, especially with Debbie's information, and I thank you for the update on where we are as a Soil and Water Conservation District. Just my pleasure at working with the team at Soil and Water Conservation District. I'm just so honored to be a part of a team that just so small, but yet so mighty and so renowned for all the work they do. And in the leadership of Laura, I just really want to underline how much I appreciate you and I appreciate your team for all the work you do. And I continue to be honored to serve alongside you and with you. And thank you. That's all.
Let's see. I see Jerry. You have anything under other items, Jerry? Chris, do you have anything? I can't see you, but I see your space.
I've already spoken enough in the beginning, so I'm okay.
Adria?
Just the
Anything
same
else?
for what Monica said. I know that there's a delay, and I had said earlier, working with the TRC is wonderful, and I always enjoy the creative technical minds that we work with. Thank you so much.
And I will just add one thing. You know, we talk about our wonderful staff, and we are fortunate to have a wonderful staff, and I appreciate those comments. But I'd like to comment about something that has gone on recently that I'm not sure we all really know about. That's the Youth Conservation Leadership Institute that the State Association Educational Fund actually sponsors. And this year, I was fortunate enough, being the treasurer of the Educational Foundation, to attend their final program. And two of the students that were mentored were from Fairfax County, and their mentor was Ashley Palmer. And she just did a tremendous job. Those students talked so much about how her encouragement and guidance as their mentor allowed them to complete their projects. And I thought, I'm biased, obviously, but I thought they had two of the better projects that were presented at the final program. So Ashley, congratulations to you. And that's just one more incident where one of our staff members has excelled. So we appreciate that. Is there anything else for the other associates at this point before we go on to the executive director?
John, this is John. Can I make two quick statements?
Yeah, certainly.
First, since George isn't here for EQUAC, I think Laura may know this. EQUAC this year, due to all of the pandemic and ability to get to work with staff and everybody, as well as the costs, we are not producing a new annual report on the environment. What we're doing, our charter says we only have to report to the Board of Supervisors, so we've chosen to do an updated letter on a few key things. So for anybody that might be looking for a whole format like we usually do, you won't probably be seeing it this year. And I think everybody understands the cost, the ability to work together, and just wasn't there. So we've chosen to update from last year and maybe some new things that got added on. We're not there yet, so I don't know where that's going. So that just kind of as an out there, don't be looking for the same report you've seen in years past. It will be a report, but not like that.
And you don't have a timetable yet?
Well, we're lucky if we know right now what we're doing tomorrow, but for everything in the world, we're still shooting for the end of the year, but like we usually present to the board, usually is their last meeting of the year in December. Sometimes we get it in November. I don't know. There's a lot of things between the board and everything up in the air. So no, but I'm guessing we're going to have it by the end of the year.
Good. Thank you, Jonna. And Jonna, I want to just say I appreciate your participation in the legislative conference for the State Association. I thought you did an extremely good job on that teleconference. Thank you.
Thank you. And right now I'm multitasking. I'm watching the Board of Supervisors Legislative Committee as we speak here on this conference. But another comment that what Jim Gershon had said at the beginning about his concerns with that thing with the state. I don't know if anybody caught the Board of Supervisors meeting the beginning of this last week at the very beginning. Not completely the same, but also a concern related to citizens, appointees to the boards, commissions, and authorities. One in particular, which I'm not going to get into. You can go back and listen to or read the board's notes. But it looks like they may be looking at all of them. But the thing I really want to emphasize is on the same note as what Jim was talking about with bringing candidates forward to the State Association. There's just this underlying theme now, it seems, in this country, but it seems I think they're going to be looking at the board's commission. I didn't hear the end result. I got called away. I have to go back and read the board's minutes. But there was an issue there with one in particular, but they're concerned about, and I think there's going to be some changes in people who are appointed to boards, commissions, and authorities in some of the things that the supervisors, when they call them, will be expecting of them. So just in terms of equity and justice in all of our decisions and not bringing forth our own personal views. So I just wanted to bring that out, that we have to be vigilant in all of our areas right now. This seems to be something that's out there, and that's all. Thank you. Thank you, John. Anything else under other items?
I just wanted to do a quick shout out to Meredith Keppel, who's on the call, because I just realized I had run into her 4 years ago when she did the mycology presentation at the Green Breakfast. And I was blown away then by this high school student that was just amazing. And I'm excited to have her here. So I just wanted to share that too.
Good. Thanks, Monica. Anything else under other items? If not, Laura, I think we're ready for the executive director's report.
Okay, can you all hear me okay?
Can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, I just noticed we had a phone number pop up, and I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't somebody new, or if it was somebody who decided to call in. I see 703. Number, would you just introduce yourself, please? If you're on the phone.
Elizabeth Ronoff.
Hi, Elizabeth. Glad you're
Having
with us.
trouble hearing online.
Okay, no worries. Well, we're glad that you're here. You've got a fun little echo going on too, so no worries. I have a few things. I have a whole long list of things that I wanted to share, but actually Monica's acknowledgement of Meredith is a wonderful segue. I've told our team I'm horrible at segues, so I'm glad when somebody else can do them for me. But I did want to just take a moment to introduce Meredith, and she did provide you with a report this month, which includes a brief introduction. But I wonder if Ashley, I hate to put you on the spot, but I wonder, Ashley, if you might like to take a moment to introduce Meredith.
Sure, I can absolutely do that. I think you can even see me now too. We had a lot of applicants for our fall outreach internship position this fall. And we were really excited about that. And really, Meredith just blew us away with her interview. So we were so happy to have her join us. Meredith is a junior at George Mason, and she is studying environmental studies, and she's also really interested in policy and politics. She's sort of native. She's been around the county and local areas her whole life, living now in Herndon, and she was over in Loudon for a while, popping around a bit. But she's always spent a lot of time outside, and we have met her in January of 2016. She did a presentation, like Monica mentioned, on fungi. And it was really, really interesting from what I've heard. I haven't gotten the chance to see it, but she does have a couple of TED Talks that are actually on the web. So if you're interested in seeing some of the talks that she's done on fungus and her other passions, they're there, and you can find those. She also has experience working with stream monitoring. We join the Friends of Runnymede Park in their Nature Fest every year, and there's normally a table set up where we pull macros out of Sugarland Run and take a look at those, and she has helped Dan in years past when he was running the stream monitoring program to do that. So we're really excited to have her join us in this fall. She's working in a very, very important support role, trying to get some of our programs that were previously in person to now be virtual programs, and see how we can kind of step up to fill the space that is left in this new virtual world. So I'm really excited to have her join us.
Great. Well, we are very excited to have Meredith. As Ashley was mentioning, we did have quite a few interviews, and yeah, she really did blow us away with her enthusiasm and her experiences for sure. I wanted to just highlight, we've had a couple of interesting trainings this month for staff. One was on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I wanted to just say thank you to Willie. Willie is serving on the Virginia Association of Conservation Districts Employees Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. DEI committee is another way of saying it. And he presented his own experiences, but also the information that was shared last Tuesday at the workshop that took place as part of sort of this training blitz that the association is putting on. So it was really very, very interesting, and I highly encourage, if you hear additional trainings coming up related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, that you jump on some of those, and we'll ask Willie to make sure that he's sharing some of those opportunities as well with us so that we can participate. We also, as a team, ran through the emergency standard infectious disease training that is related to the COVID and coronavirus. We've also taken a number of steps around our office to be compliant with the new laws and regulations that are coming out here in Virginia as well, including some contact tracing requirements, some self-assessments. If you do come into the office, as an example, you will have to do a self-assessment, which means you're not sneezing or coughing, you don't have a fever, all of these kinds of things, and you'll be signing in. Again, this is related to making sure that we're compliant with the various laws and regulations that are coming around. We also have some new things that we're instituting just as part of some of our other normal processes as well. But I'm really proud to say that we've instituted a number of things since COVID, kind of caused everything to change. But we've instituted a lot of practices, been able to move a lot of our programs online. We've been at the table and having those conversations with facilities management here in the Harity building. And many of the things that I'm proud to say that our team has come up with in terms of looking at high touch areas or making recommendations for our own operations have also gone up to the county level and are being implemented and recommended for Harity building safety as well. So some good things. We've had a lot of activity that has taken place since we last met in July, and I do want to go through some of the highlights of some of the things that we have been doing. I will give you the play-by-play, but it is there's definitely been a lot going on. But before I do, I wanted to turn the microphone over to Maria. As you all might recall, back in June, she completed the Virginia Natural Resource Leadership Institute. And I really wanted to give her a few minutes to kind of talk about her experience. She did receive a scholarship from the Virginia Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts through the Beals Fund in order to participate, and that covered her tuition. And as our district, professional development is very important to us, and that's not always on just the technical side of things. Sometimes it's on other leadership skills or project management or other skill sets that help to make us very well-rounded. And so we were proud to be able to cover some of the travel expenses that also went along with Maria's participation in the almost year-long VNRLI program. So with that, Maria, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to mute myself.
Sure. Thanks, Laura. Am I coming through okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So again, as Laura just started, a few rounds of gratitude. Thanks for the invitation, Laura, to invite me to speak about my experience with VNRLI and in particular, how I can apply what I learned to my current job role. Also, thanks again for Laura. I didn't know about VNRLI before she told me about it and encouraged my application. I'm very proud to be one of 3 staff members now at the district who have successfully gone through and completed this program. And again, as Laura said, also thank you to the State Association for awarding me a scholarship to cover my tuition costs in order to be able to attend. We use the acronym a lot, and I know that's a no, but if you're not familiar with VNRLI, it stands for the Virginia Natural Resources Leadership Institute. A little bit about the background and structure of the program. It's a professional development program for leaders confronted with Virginia's most pressing natural resource issues who seek new skills in conflict resolution and collaborative problem solving. I felt really special to be a part of last year's class. It was the 20th anniversary of VNRLI in Virginia. It was the largest class ever with 34 participants. And what makes, I think, this course also so special is that they work really hard to get participants from all across Virginia, all different types of sectors. So local, state, federal, elected officials, private as well, academia. So that hearing from those voices from that wide variety really enriches the conversation. And so moving on, just the most pertinent lesson I learned during my time at VNRLI as it applies to my current work at the district is during our extensive lectures and practicum on the 5 keys to principled negotiation. The second key is listen for understanding. This was further illuminated to mean listen to everyone involved, foster an understanding, and foster an interest, in understanding of different views, and acknowledging impacts and concerns. We performed many exercises in small groups to practice the skills of active listening and paraphrasing by role-playing various scenarios. I use these skills on a daily basis during my work providing technical advice on drainage and erosion issues to homeowners, places of worship, and community associations. Often emotions run high by the time people are sent to our office. They've been bounced around the county to various departments for days, weeks, months, even years regarding their issues. To say that many homeowners are frustrated by the time they reach our office, I think would be an understatement. By employing the skills of active listening and paraphrasing, I'm able to clarify what the person is saying, verify that I understand the person correctly, and cover the facts and impacts. This provides the groundwork to reduce their tension, fear, or frustrations, so that we may then begin to work towards resolution of their issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Yeah. Congratulations again, Maria. That was a big accomplishment to go through. And as your fellow Venerly folks here sitting in this room, we're glad to welcome you into the Alumni Association for sure. I think
Laura, are you and Willie the other two?
Yes, we are. Yes. So it is a great program. And again, really proud of your accomplishment. So it was a great update. I wanted to just share a couple of other quick notes about some of the things that have been going on since we last met in July. The audit, our biennial audit that is required by DCR usually takes place in December and January. And this year, DCR has hired a new auditor. They have a new contract with a new auditor, and it's taking place. We began the conversations in August, and we had to actually get all of our information in by mid-September. It happens to be one of our very, very busy times of the year as well, not just for our district, but for a lot of other districts as well. So it really was quite a crunch. And I just wanted to express thanks to Heather for preparing so many of the materials and getting those organized and ready for our audit. It is taking place a little bit differently this year, where a lot of it is virtual. And so instead of them coming to our office and sitting with us for a day and running through our QuickBooks company and other things like that, we are going to provide a lot of electronic files as well. And so it's different, but we will see how it goes. I see every audit as an opportunity to learn a little bit more about our organization, see where we can make some enhancements if necessary, but also recognize that there's been a lot of good things that both Heather and I came into an organization that was financially sound, and that we're proud to be able to maintain that or make enhancements as necessary. Related to the strategic plan and the budget, with COVID and everything, some things kind of paused and some things kind of ramped up. And also with the audit, we've had to make a few changes regarding schedule, particularly as it relates to the budget. We will be taking a couple of months to work on both of these because they are very much related. And so we will be, Jerry, I think you and I have talked about working together a bit on the strategic plan and getting some board input. And I'd like to follow up with you over the course of the next couple of weeks and really work that plan so that we can so the board has the opportunity to do the SWOT analysis, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then we can come together as a cohesive group with staff and the board and associates. I'd like for your input as well, but where we can all get together and make sure that we're reviewing and moving forward with a good solid plan. So please just expect a couple of coordination emails coming up regarding those initiatives. VCAP, we have definitely been down a key team member with Christina's departure, but I really am proud of our entire team for really digging in and finding room within their schedules and reprioritizing a few things so that we can move forward with the schedule. We as a team did sit down and talk about whether or not the proposed schedule that we had at the beginning of the fiscal year was still going to work for us, being down a team member, at least for the first part of the fall. There was a general agreement that we could make it work because the timeline is quite a bit longer this year. As you all might recall, last year the idea was to get the site visits completed by mid-October. Since we've got a couple more months, we are able to move forward with a little bit more room and space within the schedule regarding that. Dan has been serving as our intermediate coordinator, our acting coordinator for the program, and I just really appreciate everything that he has been doing. He has definitely stepped up pretty huge in terms of helping to keep things running. I also wanted to say thanks to Heather again. So the program's kind of twofold. You've got sort of the coordination piece with a lot of the organization. Heather's done great at helping to intake a lot of the things and organize them in such a way that the technical team can help to make sense of them. Maria and Willie have also been instrumental in helping to review the site plans, the site visit request applications as they came in. And then together as a group, I also reviewed many of them as well and have done some coordination with our City of Alexandria and City of Fairfax representatives so that they're informed and are brought in with coordinating some of those site visits. We together have identified those top 50 sites, and as Adria mentioned during the TRC report, we are moving forward with beginning to schedule some of those site visits. We are looking forward to bringing on our new urban conservation specialist too, the conservation assistance program coordinator. We did go through those interviews back in August, and we have actually, we're very fortunate to have several candidates that could really do a great job in supporting us. So we're working together as a team to identify our top candidate. Interviews, as Ashley also mentioned, and Meredith is here already, took place for our fall intern. I did want to just mention that, as you all may recall, we have been promoting the urban conservation engineer position, and that position did close just a little bit ago. We did not receive an adequate number of applications in regards to our competitive process, so we will be re-advertising that position. So stay tuned for more information on that. Let's see here. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention about VCAP is that when Christina departed, as you might recall, she was the chair of the association's VCAP steering committee. There was a request for volunteers to step up into that particular role. And we did have a couple of people who expressed some interest, but when they went back, realized that they were unable to really fit it into their schedule. So I am your new chair of the VCAP steering committee. I just want to let you know that those meetings will continue to take place on the last Friday of every month.
So that stays with Northern Virginia.
It does stay with Northern Virginia, at least through the end of the calendar year. I have asked that others look to step up into that role after that time. But certainly as we bring on our new person too, I do foresee them serving as our representative on the steering committee as well. I think it's important that they get integrated into that process. So whether or not they serve in that chair role, we'll have to see. But
Laura, I take it the other two that almost volunteered were from other districts?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. That's correct. And it just may be that, again, this is a very difficult time for a lot of districts. We have a lot of application periods that are open. So perhaps when things kind of settle a little bit, they might find that, and they're not feeling quite so stressed, they may find that they have the time to be able to take on some of these duties and responsibilities as well. I wanted to also just mention that our rain barrel program has opened up again. We have hosted a couple of workshops already, and Taylor is back in the office pretty frequently. We're trying to figure out a way if we can do a distribution event. That we are running into a few issues with that in regards to finding really a location that is large enough to be able to maintain social distancing practices as well. And also a place where we can store the barrels safely, at least for a handful of days. But stay tuned on that. If you have folks that are interested, or you're getting emails from people, that the Rain Barrel Program website does have what is currently available in terms of workshops and things like that. So any updates will be made in the future. I also just wanted to make another quick point. Hopefully you've seen Ashley's staff report. Our team does put a lot of time and effort into preparing these, and whenever I served on boards, I always found the staff reports to be no offense, I pull together the board package, so I know what goes in there. But these are really fun and really interesting. And so you'll see that there is some poster contest winners that are included in her report. And Ashley, I don't know if you're still on, if there you are. If you have anything that you might like to share regarding the poster contest.
Sure. I actually put together a PowerPoint of our winners so we could see them a little larger if you're interested, or I could just kind of talk through right here, whichever you prefer.
I say let's share that PowerPoint because they're much more pretty in color. Can you share your screen?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to mute myself. Sorry, final thing. While Ashley is pulling up her presentation, I wanted to let you know that Katie Torgerson was with us for a little while this morning. And she did have to leave for a meeting, but she did just want to mention and give an update that the Lake Barton dredging project, that the construction bid was awarded to Avon Corporation in August, and that they will begin dewatering the lake in some of the coming weeks. They anticipate that dewatering is going to take about 2 months to complete at about 6 inches a day. And on a related note, I did actually just yesterday, receive word from Maintenance and Stormwater Management that they will be doing their annual operations and maintenance inspections on October 8th with the rain date of October 14th, I believe. So I will follow up with some of our board members and share some of that information as well. So Ashley, thanks for your patience. I'll turn it to you.
Of course, thank you. And in respect of everyone's time, I'll try to keep this short, but we did have some really great entries this year. So every year, the National Association of Conservation Districts runs a conservation poster contest with a different theme each year. This year's theme is Where Would We Be Without Pollinators? And I still can't say the title without emphasizing the pun. I love it so much. And so then I just wanted to show you our entries from this year. So last year we had 104 entries. So comparatively this year, our 21 entries are much fewer, but that doesn't really surprise me. Last year we had a lot of classrooms that submitted as a whole, which meant batches of 30 students coming in at a time. Whereas our entries from this year were all organic from students who looked at our website or who saw it promoted on our Facebook or Instagram social media pages. So we had a total of 21 entries, and actually 2 of them were from outside the county. We actually had one that got cut off on the map from down in Woodbridge, and then one you'll see over here in Ashburn. And those are because those students then attended private schools that were within our jurisdiction, so they were considered entries from the Northern Virginia district. Our winner for the first category, which was grades kindergarten to first, is Natalie Peters, who is a 6-year-old kindergartner at Flint Hill Elementary School. And what we really liked about her poster was that she researched what the value that pollinators have, and said that we needed to have bees because we need fruits and vegetables. And so we saw extra thought from her, and we love that she drew all these little fruits and veggies on here as well. And then our winner for the grades 2nd to 3rd category was McLean Caswell, a 2nd grader from Trinity Christian School. And you might actually recognize that name. She was our winner last year in the category when she was in first grade, and she was also the state winner then as well. And so here we really liked her poster because she got to talk a lot about the really important value of pollinators, and that really struck a chord with us. In the next category, which was grades 4 to 6, our winner was Donbi Chu, a 10-year-old fifth grader from Colin Powell Elementary School. And we really like the watercolors here. This is the first watercolor submission we've got since I've been judging. And it looked really great, and the colors really popped. And then for the 7th to 9th grade category, our winner is Eva Kunha, a 12-year-old 7th grader from Lake Braddock Secondary School. And here we really liked the bat. I think every poster we got had bees on it, but we really liked that this artist also researched other pollinators, including bats. I think this is the only bat we got this year. So we really liked that one. And then the last category is for grades 10 to 12, and our winner here is Hae Kim, a 15-year-old 10th grader from Centerville High School. And we particularly really liked her art because all of the rainbow flowers that she has here, it seems that she actually researched flower species and their colors to make this rainbow. So there was a lot of research that went into this one, and it really tied it all together, which was really nice. We do also have an honorable mention this year, a 15-year-old 11th grader from Annandale High School named Noah Hush. Noah submitted digitally created artwork, and after lengthy discussions with both Bonnie Mall at the State Association and then also NACD, unfortunately they can't accept digital art at this time. They think that it needs to go into a separate category. We were really impressed with Noah's work. Not just, of course, the graphics, but really just the idea that there's this bounty of fruit and vegetables that rely on these pollinators. And so although Noah won't move forward to the next stage at the state competition, we are going to award him locally with an honorable mention. He'll be considered our second winner for that category.
Ashley, do you know if NACD is considering adopting another category?
At this time, they are not. No, we did talk about it. They don't have the budget in the auxiliary right now to sponsor a separate category, and they may think about it in future years. But I did speak with them and emphasize strongly that we thought it would be valuable, particularly for equity and diversity issues. There are some students that are incapable of creating hand-drawn art but could use digital media, and I think that was our biggest drive for why that may be important. But we'll see in future years what they're able to accommodate. From here, all of our winners and honorable mentions will be awarded an age-appropriate book on pollinators or nature journaling, depending on what is available for their age group, because we really want to foster both the artistic media and then also the value that these pollinators bring. And then our winning posters will be sent to compete at the state level with the Virginia Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts. But at this time, and I think Laura can confirm, we would like the board to approve us sending this to the state level and recognizing these 5 posters as our winners.
Would one of the board members like to move that we do that?
I would so move.
So move to make to forward those on. Yes, and submit them.
It's been moved, and I'll take it we have a second.
Yes.
I'll just ask all in favor of forwarding those on, signify by saying aye.
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 Any nays? That's forwarded. They're approved.
Thank you. Laura, would you also like me to talk about Green Breakfast?
That would be great, Ashley.
Of course. So as Laura mentioned, we've had a lot of really talented high schoolers joining us in the past year or so. And John, thank you so much for your kind words about the ceremony we went to for YCLI. The Youth Conservation Leadership Institute runs every school year with applications due around October, and then the kids do their projects and they finish up in March, and then we have our ceremony, which was heavily postponed this year. But they all do work with a mentor. I've been honored to be a mentor for 2 students this year, and actually 2 students the year prior as well. And I think that they've all done really incredible work. And then we also this summer did a version of that, which we called independent research projects, in which we invited high school students who had maybe volunteered with us before or had joined us at YCLI or youth conservation camp or something like that to engage with us this summer in a research project in which they can ask their own questions, formulate their own hypotheses, and test those with the support of the district. So I worked closely with those students as well. We have a total of 4 students who did 5 projects, and for our October Green Breakfast on the 10th, we are inviting them to come out and speak, and then to present the work that they did, and then also to hold a little panel about maybe why they got so interested in conservation so young, or what the value they had was working with their peers and with the district and things like that. So they'll each have the opportunity to present, and we've got projects on, let's see if I can remember all of these. They will be on a microplastic educational program for middle school students, a water quality study in Akatink, and we will also have an erosion study, a study on the effect of human populations on insect microhabitats, and a study on the human impacts of stream crossings and access points. So our students had a really wide range of projects, and so in October we hope to bring all those projects to you and do little mini presentations on everything that they've worked so hard on.
Ashley, it sounds from your description as though Carolyn Rohr and Nimesh Rudra are 2 of the students that will be talking. Is that correct?
Yes, and Nimesh also joined us for the independent research projects where he did a second project. So he'll be presenting on 2 of them. But yes, 2 of the students that will join us are the ones that we had at our ceremony for the last YCLI season.
Yeah, we'll enjoy hearing from them.
Yes, they've all done such incredible work, and it's a really great opportunity for them to come out. They were actually excited to present at a board meeting, but we thought that we wouldn't have the time to do all their work justice, and so we wanted to kind of have a larger Green Breakfast venue for that. But they're very excited to share with everyone, so we hope you can attend that Green Breakfast when we have some more details on it.
Yeah, great, Ashley. Yeah, no, it's going to be a lot of fun to hear them. And then as you also will look in Ashley's report, she does share some of the information about the Youth Leadership Institute and the projects that were completed this past year, along with the YouTube video of the closing ceremony that John was referencing with the state association. So again, stay tuned. Again, the Green Breakfast will be October 10th, the morning of October 10th. And it should be really a inspirational morning. So thanks, Ashley. One final thing I wanted to, Ashley, did you have anything else? No? Okay. All right, sounds good. Again, like I said, my segues are terrible. But I did want to also just mention another thing to just kind of put, plant the seed, another pun, is that we are getting our seedling sale underway and planning has begun. Maria did lead a meeting just a couple of weeks ago regarding our plant selection and getting the team together and identifying some different things that we need to take into consideration to be able to run our seedling sale this spring. So stay tuned for more information on that, but we will be having our seedling sale this spring. And unless there's anything disastrous that happens, we look forward to making those special accommodations so that folks can do their stewardship this spring and we can help be a part of that. So stay tuned for more information on that. Other than that, John, I don't know if there's anything else that folks would like for me to touch on, but that is all that I have for today.
Does anybody have any questions of Laura? Nope. If not, I hope you all take a look at the staff reports that were transmitted by Heather. I know since Assad said what he did, I'm going to have to go back and look at some of those from the Engineering Standards Review Committee. We're down now, I think, to cooperating agencies, and you heard that Katie Torgerson from stormwater planning had to leave, she did tell us about Lake Barton's dredging and Avon's contract, and it's going to take 2 months to dewater that site. Do we have Paul Shannon on from the Department of Public Health? I can't tell from looking at this. I don't see him on. Do you see him, Laura?
No, I don't see Paul.
Do you have anything from the Department of Public Health?
I do not have an update. Well, I'll give you just a brief update. I want to let you know that Jerry and I have been working on one of the legislative items that did come up for consideration by the association was the idea of expanding the septic repair and maintenance program statewide. And we have had a few conversations with Paul Shannon and trying to get some local information that can help inform that process. We do see that there is some value in that, even for here in Fairfax County, where we have over 20,000 septic systems, which might be a bit of a surprise, but we do have over 20,000 septic systems. And I am proud to say that the health department does move forward with trying to ensure that there is compliance from the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Act perspective with the pump outs, the regular pump outs that are required to take place. We have about an 80% compliance rate regarding that. And interestingly enough, some of the information that Paul shared, and I'm going to be general because I don't have it right here in front of me, but I do know that those that have not been pumped out have not been pumped out for decades. And so those are some things to kind of take into consideration, but it's been a lot of fun to be working with Jerry on that and pull from those past experiences that he has had and the enthusiasm that he's also bringing to the table. I do foresee, even though that legislative item didn't necessarily move forward this year on the state association's agenda, it is still something that I think, as we get into our strategic planning process, we can think about making some space and there for some additional conversations, at least locally. So, Jerry, I don't know if you have anything else that you might like to add.
Yeah, let me say that in doing research for this legislative initiative that Laura is talking about, I learned that 11 of the 47 districts have had programs in providing assistance to residential properties for septic tank system pump outs and repairs, connecting to sewers, a variety of things to do with on-site systems. And it's something that districts are expected, I think, to pick up on. The funding so far is mostly from federal money for Section 319 funding. This is essentially compliance measures for streams that have TMDL limits. And if streams have got a TMDL limit for E. coli, then that makes those watersheds eligible for this funding. And that's where the districts have stepped in. Laura and I and others are talking about a broader mandate that maybe is not limited just to TMDL limited watersheds, but a broader program. And I think there's some potential here for us to lead the way. And so Laura and I are thinking about this and working on it. I'd like anybody else who'd like to pitch in on our discussions. Be glad to hear from you. Thank you, John.
Anything else, Laura? If not, I think we're down to, I hope Debbie is still on. Is she from DCR?
I'm still here.
Thank you. We're down to you, Debbie.
And just a couple things to highlight in my report. It's hard to believe that the quarter's going to be over at the end of September, so quarterly reports will be due October the 15th. Wanted to mention the FOIA training. The web link is still not working for the Freedom of Information Act training. So, and I've been trying it once a week since July, and it keeps just like circling around and getting stuck. But the good news is DCR is working with the Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts and the FOIA Council to offer a FOIA webinar in the fall. I've heard it's going to be in December. There'll be more information to come, but there will be to participate in that webinar. It's going to be about an hour long to receive the training that you need. We still, we do have to get this completed by December 31st for all elected directors And as soon as I know that web link is working properly, I'll send an email out to the districts to send out to directors. As we mentioned earlier, the General Assembly is still in special session. As of today, there's still not anything to report to soil and water conservation districts. No decisions have been made that would affect the districts in DCR. It's been a really slow process. It's been a complicated process for them too, but we're still hopeful that it'll be in good shape at the end of the session. I'm not even sure if they have a crossover date announced yet. I'd seen that it was going to be in the next couple of weeks, but not a date. If anybody knows a crossover date that has been named, you're welcome to shout it out.
Debbie, this is John again, and I thought the crossover date was this week. I heard it mentioned in one of the discussions that I was watching, and I thought it was coming. It was this week or by the end of the month. But yeah, I thought we're just about on top of it.
Yeah, I think so too, but there's no date. Anyway, virtual training blitz. The association will not be having an in-person annual meeting, and the Virginia Association of Conservation District Employees were not able to have their annual training for staff out of Grace Mountain Lodge. So they're teaming up to all a virtual training blitz, of which Laura mentioned a little while ago. Lots of training opportunities coming up for directors, for staff, both administrative as well as technical staff. Emails have started to go out. It looks like they're having one about every week, honestly. They've had an engineering one, and they've had one on diversity and inclusion. So I'd encourage you to stay tuned for that and participate in those that you might have interest in. The Clean Water Farm Award, if the district is interested in participating in that this year, the deadline has been moved to November the 1st to give us a little bit more time to get those award applications in. DCR is in a precarious financial situation right now with the General Assembly still in session. Our discretionary funds have been restricted significantly. So we're not going to be able to provide the signs this year. We can provide the certificates, but not the signs. The signs will be made available for districts to order. And we'll be getting information out soon about that. I think they're probably going to be $25 or $30 in the sign shop, the state shop will be doing the signs. So if you plan to participate and you want to have a sign, the district will actually have to approve funds and order the sign this year. The Soil and Water Board, we do have a couple new members on the Soil and Water Board. The governor appointed 2 new members, Jay Ford from over in the Eastern Shore and Pamela Mason of Yorktown. She works at VIMS, but she's also director at Colonial Soil and Water Conservation District. As a result of these appointments, Area 2 doesn't have a person living in Area 2 that's serving on the Soil and Water Board at the current time. So the governor chose not to accept the recommendations that had been submitted and vetted through the area and by the association and the Soil and Water Board. He chose to appoint his own person of his choice. They are gubernatorial appointees, but just to let you know, that's what's going on. So Greg Corner is no longer on the Soil and Water Board. Neither is Cindy Smith, who have been at Hanover, Carolina. A couple dates to remember. The Soil and Water Board will be meeting next week, this week, tomorrow is the right word. They will be meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock. They've got a lot of work on their plate, but if anybody's interested, it's a public meeting. You're welcome to call in for that. Chesapeake Bay license plate grants, applications are due by September 25th. Your district has applied for those funds in the past. If you're interested in that, make sure you don't miss that deadline. And the Association of Soil and Water Conservation Districts, that board will be meeting on September 29th at 10 o'clock as a virtual meeting. I think that's all I have, unless you have some questions for me.
Anybody have any questions of Debbie? Laura, do you?
Yes, I do. I have a quick question for you, Debbie. I noticed, and I haven't checked the town hall to see what the Soil and Water Conservation Board schedule looks like for the rest of the fall. Do you know, are they going to be having a meeting in October? I'm just trying to figure out How soon you need to
No.
get Andrea's nomination over to Michael?
No, they will meet in September and in December.
And then December, okay. So
Yes,
I guess
they're-
that's just something for us to know, Adria, is that your nomination wouldn't get in until December.
Right, and her term doesn't end till the end of December. So, yes, they plan to take action on the extension agent appointments at the December meeting.
Okay, it's just a little bit of a quicker turnaround for you, Adria, in regards to getting over and doing your oath of office and all. So we'll
That shouldn't be a problem. I might need just since I only do this once every 4 years, you and I can follow up on the details and to get the paperwork and stuff. Okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, it's it's like, oh, I remembered the last time I just met up with this clerk in the hallway down by the stairwell and did my oath there. So I mean, it isn't a pretty formal event that our electeds get to have. So it is definitely something like that. So or pulled inside of a cube. So just remind me and we'll follow up. Okay.
All right, sounds good. And I'll bring one of those poppers for you as well. So you'll have some confetti when you're done.
There you go. All right. Sounds great. Yeah, we can pop it out. Sounds great.
Anything else for Debbie?
Thank you.
I don't see anybody on from NRCS, or I can't recognize it. Is anybody on from NRCS? I don't see that. How about Jim McGlone, Department of Forestry?
I am here, John. I do have a couple of things for the board and for the staff. The first is that we are currently accepting applications for the Virginia Trees for Clean Water grants. That will be through October 2nd. Those grants are available to both citizens and homeowners associations or common interest properties, as well as government agencies. This time around, it's usually a 50-50 match, but this time it's going to be match as much as you can. A lot of the private entities use volunteer labor to match the funds they get from the grant program. And with the COVID-19 social distancing, et cetera, we recognize that that may not be possible. We are have also started and will be through October 16th, asking citizens to provide us with acorns for producing seedlings down at the nursery, and those seedlings sometimes find their way into the seedling sale packets. And I have a press release I can share with the district to put out on their watershed calendar or something like that. This is more for the staff, but we have positively identified crepe myrtle bark scale in Fairfax County. So if you get calls about crepe myrtle branches that have all this white stuff on them, that's the bark scale. It does represent a certain amount of threat to crepe myrtles. And those are, for better or for worse, important street trees and urban trees in Fairfax County. And the last thing I just wanted to mention is that we are coming up on the beginning of the fiscal year, which is also the beginning of WIP 3. And I will be working with the staff and the district. We have incredible numbers on the amount of tree planting that is expected. I'm looking at it right now, and they did have our goal for the Potomac work area, which is Loudoun, Fairfax, Prince William, and Arlington counties, to 28,000 trees. So it's going to be really important that we get together and figure out how to make sure all these trees get counted. I did clarify that the seedlings, all of the seedlings in the Northern Virginia Soil and Water Conservation District seedling sale will count as long as they do get planted. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Jim. Does anybody have any questions for Jim? Is there anything else that needs to come before the board?
John,
Jerry.
before
Jerry.
let me express my appreciation of Jim for working together with him on the annual report on the Green Initiative that I mentioned earlier. He wasn't on when I was talking about that, but Jim, thank you very much. I think we did a good job. And by the way, that report is not quite finished. We approved it at the last tree commission meeting, but Brian Knightley, who is the director of Urban Forest Management Division, is doing some touch-ups, and we'll be distributing that to the board and for Laura to distribute to staff when that's polished up and ready to send to the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Anything else for Jim? If not, is there anything else to come before the board? Hearing nothing, is there a motion that we adjourn? It's been moved by Adria that we adjourn. Is there a second?
Second, Chris.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, just signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. The meeting is adjourned. We covered a lot of ground. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate it. Thank you, Jim Gelson, for being part of it.
Stay safe, everybody. Enjoy the fall.
Jerry Peters.
Yes.